Hello, it's Bob Scott with NIMS and Associates, here to go over Acumatica security with you. Types of security. There are two types of security in Acumatica. There's base security, which essentially is taking users, assigning them to a role, and then assigning what screens and Acumatica roles can get into. And then there's row-level security, or it's a more advanced security, row-level security. Row-level security allows you to limit what customers a salesperson could see, or what general ledger accounts a user could see, or what vendors a user could see. So it gets down to the row level of detail of data in Acumatica, and can limit what users can see as far as customers, items, vendors, general ledger accounts, sub-accounts, on a user-by-user basis. User security and row-level security. User security is the base security in Acumatica. Row-level security is the more advanced security in Acumatica. In a user security environment, you are setting up users, you're setting up roles, and you're assigning roles to screens within Acumatica. On row-level security, you're taking what you've already built under user security and you're enhancing it to say that certain users can access certain general ledger accounts, or certain users can access certain vendors, certain users can access certain customers, inventory items, and almost anything in Acumatica can be limited by row, including branches and sub-accounts. Setting up users. In Acumatica, users are set up under configuration, user security. Under the manage option, you choose users, and you can look up a list of users that are set up in the system. When setting up a user, you assign a login name, you set the password, and passwords can be reset by the administrator. But you also set up different options for the user. So you could force the user, for example, to change the password on the next login. Or you could tell them that the password never expires. Users can belong to types. User types are convenient for setting up security quickly for a user. A user type would allow an employee, or a user, I should say, to inherit certain roles. Linked entity. When setting up a user, you can link it to an entity. Now, the linked entity really refers to an employee that can optionally be set up in Acumatica. Employees are necessary for processing expense claims and time entries in Acumatica. And if you're going to be using the approvals in Acumatica, you've got to set up employees for the approval system to work. This linked entity allows you to link a user login to that user's employee account in Acumatica. Once the user basic information is set up, you can decide what roles the user is going to belong to. When assigning a user to a group, that user is going to inherit the access rights that we're later going to talk about that are assigned to each screen in Acumatica. So for example, if I unclick this user would not be a member of the administrator group, and therefore would not have access to the privileges of the administrator. A user can belong to multiple groups, multiple rows. Certain rows have very specific purposes. So this role customizer would allow a user to customize Acumatica. If you want to call a user a dashboard designer, if you want a user to be getting access to field level audits, and if you want a user to be an internal user. Every user should be marked as an internal user inside of Acumatica, and marking him as an internal user really just means that they can come up and change their user profile on their own. Other things that the user setup can do is, under personal settings, you can set up the home dashboard page for the user. Security roles. Security roles get assigned to users. Security roles inform Acumatica what screens and functions within screens users can access. User roles are found in Configuration, User Security, under the User Roles option. User roles are established by creating a role name and then assigning users to it. Users can also be assigned to roles from the user maintenance screen. Assigning access rights by screen. In Acumatica, once users and user roles are established, it's important then to go to individual screens within Acumatica and say which screens a particular role can get into. So for instance, if I wanted to see who was going to be allowed to make journal entries in Acumatica, I could navigate on the Access Rights by Screen menu to Finance, General Ledger, Work Area, Enter, and then Journal Entries. Journal entries allow me to assign what roles can get into it. The access rights here determine what a user can do to it. Not set means that the user cannot get into it. Revoked means that the user is revoked from getting into it. View only means they can look up records but not changing them. Editing means they can edit existing records but not create new ones. Inserting means they can create a new record but not edit an existing one, or delete. Delete means they can do all of these access rights. Delete is the highest level of access rights. So for each screen, you assign what role can access it. At a deeper level of security, you can choose elements of a screen that can be assigned these roles. When I go to and open up journal transactions, for example, and I look at GL batch, each one of these options, expand this a little bit, can be secured or not secured. So for example, if I didn't want somebody to be able to export from the general ledger screen, I could click on there and change the access rights for that role so they wouldn't be able to do it. That becomes very, very important for certain aspects in Acumatica, like releasing transactions. So if you didn't want somebody to be able to release a transaction, but you wanted them to be able to enter a transaction, you could limit what access they can get into on the release function. User types. User types allow you to link types of users together so that security can be quickly and easily established for new employees or as employees change roles. In this case, I've accessed user types through the Configuration, User Security, User Types menu option. I select a user type, in this case, sales employees. Sales employees are going to belong to these roles. And so when I create an employee and I want to assign them to this role, they will inherit these roles and just make it a heck of a lot easier to set up and manage users. To assign a user role to a user, you could access that through users and then change the user type here. Or on the user types screen, you could assign users here. Thank you for watching our video. Please sign up for our YouTube channel or our LinkedIn group for Acumatica. If you have any further questions, contact Henry Kim. Thank you.